Alright, welcome back to the Introductory Unix Linux course. Today we're going to cover the Linux file system, the anatomy of a command, and then some other commands that we haven't yet covered in this video series. In more detail, what we're going to cover is the file system tree. That is how the Linux file system is organized in a tree-like fashion. We're going to cover the anatomy of a command. When we're talking about the file system, we'll be talking about relative and absolute paths. We'll talk about some special characters that stand in for different special paths that exist. And specifically, the kinds of commands we're going to cover in this video are the navigation commands, commands for navigating the file system. Okay, so the Linux file system is set up like an upside down tree, with the root up at the top, and then all other elements inside or items inside the file system are descended from the root. Right? So you could think of root as the ultimate ancestor directory, inside which all other files and directories, and remember directories and folders are synonymous with each other. So root is the directory in which all files and folders exist, or at least they are all descended from, with varying degrees of separation, right? So from root there are children of the root directory, there are grandchildren of the root directory, there are great-grandchildren of the root directory, and so on. These are all descendants of the root directory. Everything that exists on the file system is a descendant of the root directory at some point. Now you'll notice that the root directory is represented as a slash, right? Like that, right? And if we see, we can actually get a look at the contents of the root directory by using the ls command, ls. And then after the letters ls, we're going to just type in the slash symbol for root. And that tells us the contents of the root directory. Right? When we type pwd and we see our working directory, remember pwd stands for print working directory. It tells you where you're located. What it gives you is the absolute path of where you're located, meaning that where am I located in relation to the root directory? Well, that slash right there is the root directory. Inside of the root directory, there's a home directory. Inside the home directory, there are actually potentially several user-specific home directories. The one that I'm in specifically is the tau home directory. If there were other users, they would each have their own home directory, and I would see that by typing ls/home. But right now I just see tau because I'm the only user on this system. One navigation command that we've already seen in the previous video is cd. And in fact, right, if I just did ls for the current directory, I see all those items that we saw from the last video. But I could also go cd/home to go to the overall home directory, then type ls, and I would just again see the user directory there, tau. And I could do cd tau. Now I'm back in my home directory, ls, and that gives me a listing of those contents of that directory again. So again, it's three of the core commands for Linux navigation or navigating the Linux file system. are the cd command, ls command, and pwd. CD stands for change directory, ls stands for list, and pwd stands for print working directory. As we begin using more commands, it'll become more apparent that commands can appear to be fairly complex. And that's likely due to the fact that they are really composed of 3 elements. That is the command itself. So for instance, we have the ls command all by itself, and that just gives us a plain old listing, right? I'm going to use clear again here to clear up the space, right? So I could use ls. That just gives me a listing of my directory. I could also use what's called an option, which allows me to become more specific in how I want the command to work. So specifically within the ls command, I want to use the A option. The A option shows all files or folders in a directory, including those that would otherwise be hidden. And hidden files in Linux are often represented with a dot beforehand. So you see this .bash history, .bash rc, and so on. Those are hidden files that we wouldn't see with just the plain ls command. You have to use an option to specifically tell the ls command, I want to use the ls command showing hidden files. In addition to using options, you might have to provide arguments, which I did earlier when I did ls/home. Right? /home is an option, or an argument. An argument is what you want to use the command on. So let's say I want to use a command, an option, and an argument all at once. I could do ls-a to show the hidden files, and I could provide an argument. What do I want to see all the hidden files in? I want to see all the hidden files in the home directory. And that's what I would see. Alright? So those are the 3 elements of a command, the anatomy of a command. And let's go ahead and keep on moving forward. I already briefly mentioned what an absolute path is. I'll show you again. If we do pwd, we see the absolute path to my home directory, the tau home directory. Not the overall home directory, which is /home, but the specific user tau's home directory, /home/tau. I know that's the absolute path because it starts from root. Now, there are other types of paths. And those are called relative paths. Relative paths are written in a way that they assume you're starting from your current location rather than starting from root. So from here, if I do ls, I see that I have some documents, some directories available to me. Right? So I could do cd /home/tau/animals. Right? That would be that would be using an absolute path to navigate to the animals directory. Hit enter, and sure enough, there I am in the animals directory. Now I can also use a relative path here. The first relative path that I'll show is using just cd . Is short for the parent of the current directory. So right now I'm in the animals directory. I want to navigate to the parent of the animals directory, which is just my home directory. And sure enough, there I am. I could use another type of relative path, and I could navigate back into the animals directory by doing cd./animals. / is shorthand for within the current directory. So within the current directory, there's an animals directory, and that's what I want to navigate to. Okay. I could also navigate to the root directory with cd. cd /. Remember that / is shorthand for root. Right, that's the root directory. And that's where I'm located now. Right, if I did pwd, there I am, root directory. Now let's say I wanted to navigate back to my home directory using some sort of shorthand method. Well, that's what that tilde is for, right? pwd, and now I'm back in my home directory. Now the cd command has one more shortcut available to it, in that even if I just type cd all by itself and hit enter, that automatically brings me to my home directory as well. There is another ls option that I could show you, the ls-l command. -l gives you a long listing, right? And if at any point, you are unsure of how these different options are working or how different commands are working, remember from the first video there's the man command and the man pages, which are manuals. So if I do clear and I do man ls, right, that gives me a manual page for the ls command. I can hit the space button, and as I hit space button, I'll be paging down through the different pages within the manual page for the ls command. But even right now, I can see the all, right, -a option for all. That's where we saw the hidden files. If I hit the down arrow, I'll just scroll down line by line, and I'll just keep on looking until I find the -l option. There it is, -l. Use a long listing format. Right, I'm going to type Q to quit out of the manual page and do ls-l again. You'll see that there are many elements presented here, different columns of information for each of these files, right? Each of these rows is a file. For each of these rows, there are several columns available with different kinds of information, like the file name, something about date and time, size, user, and so on. These are permissions over here, which we will get to eventually in one of the next couple videos. Alright, so we talked about how the Linux file system is set up as an upside down tree with root at the top. All files and directories within your file system are descended from root at one point or another. There are different shorthands that we use, such as the tilde for home, the slash for root, // for current, .. for parent. We talked about the anatomy of a command, so the command, option, and argument. And again, right, ls is the command, -l is an option, and /home is an argument. Okay? And some of the navigation commands we talked about were cd for change directory, pwd for print working directory, and ls for listing the contents of a directory. I hope you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for remaining videos. I think there's going to be probably about another 10 or so videos after this. Right? So let me know if you have any suggestions or tips or corrections even, and I'll be sure to take them into consideration. Right? Take care.